Hi class, today we're going to be learning how to work with Camera Raw. And Camera Raw is basically a different format that you can shoot in when you take pictures on any digital camera. And a RAW file contains unprocessed picture data from a digital camera's image sensor. So it's kind of like undeveloped film. A raw sensor data is not yet converted to a standard multiple channel color image file. It is an unprocessed channel of sensor data, and in that form it is not yet viewable as an image. So a raw file typically has an embedded preview image with it that represents the camera's interpretation of the raw data. So we can use software such as Adobe's Camera Raw to interpret that raw data into multiple color channels, such as RGB channel. So you may or may not have some experience with this. If you're not a photographer, chances are you won't know what I'm talking about, but there's settings on fancy digital cameras that allow you to shoot in Camera Raw, and then from there you can edit a lot more with a lot more data and a lot more information. So you're going to go to Photoshop and you're going to open the mission folder. So I'm going to go down to lesson 12. So we're going to start with mission 1, 2, and 3. Those are all Camera Raw files. CRW files are one of those formats. There's multiple different ones, but this is a format that Canon uses. And we're going to click Open. And you'll see this open a completely different dialog box that you're not used to. It allows you, though, to go in and do pretty much all the same things that Photoshop allows you to do, but a lot more with the color and the pixel data. So think of this as its own software, really, like within Photoshop. Okay, so down here we have how we want the images to appear if we have multiple ones. So they're going to appear in this film strip here at the bottom. There is a large preview of each image. You can also do ratings for each image if you're processing a lot of images. That can kind of help you narrow down what you like. There's also a bunch of collapsible panels over here. So we have light, we have color, effects, curve, color mixer, color grading, detail, optics, lens blur, geometry, and calibration. We're also going to turn on the file names so we can see what those are. So hover over this film strip right here, hold down on it, press and hold, and then we're going to check the show file names so you can see what they're called, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so let's click on the second image. You can see what that looks like, and the third image. Okay, so we're going to go back to mission 1. And you're going to change the Adobe Raw profile. So right here, the profile is Adobe Color. You're going to choose Adobe Landscape on that. And it's just going to adjust the color. Really what this is going to do is like boost your blues. Trees and sky works well for landscape images. And this is just giving us a starting point. Next, we're going to be adjusting the white balance. Okay, we're going to go down. White balance. Looks like they changed it. Hang on. Oh yeah, so they've added. Oh, sorry, it's under color. Okay. In the book it's under basic, but under here, on here it's under color. So white balance as shot, we're actually going to change that to cloudy, and you can change it based on the light that you have. And then you can see now that the church is looking a little bit reddish or pinkish. So we're gonna do our own kind of customized white balance with this little eyedropper next to it. And then we're going to click an object that should be white or gray, it says. So I was gonna start by clicking the white clouds. That kind of brightens it up a little bit. Okay, and then if you select different values of white or gray, it's going to be slightly different. But you want to go with one of those, and they're saying that the best way to do it is actually to zoom in, and you're going to click on the white on the sign in front of the church because we know that that's going to be like real white. And that actually does help our color cast. Okay, so you can zoom back out. This little icon down here cycles between before and after views. So if you want to look at the before and after, there it is right there. And you can go back to single view when you're done with that. Okay, now we're going to make some tonal adjustments. This is going to be under this edit menu right here. So we're going to click auto. So you can see what that's going to be doing. It's going to actually set all of these for us with the temperature, tint, vibrance, and saturation. Auto correction is useful in this case. It actually works pretty good most of the time in Camera Raw. But then we're going to kind of fine tune it a little bit. So let's open up the light settings. We're going to bump the exposure up to 0.5. Contrast 0. Highlights minus 20. Shadows plus 70. That's lightening our shadows. Whites plus 20. And blacks are going to be minus 10. Then you're going to open up the color settings. And you're going to do vibrance up to 20. And where's clarity? Here it is under effects. Clarity's also up to 20. Okay, so you can see your image really brightening up here and looking good. Next, we're going to go down to our detail options, and when you are doing sharpening, you can do it through Camera Raw first. We're going to zoom in. And then We're going to go till we can see the cross at the top of the tower, and then the sharpening option determines how much camera raw emphasizes fine details. So we're going to put the sharpening value up to 100, and you'll notice that cross gets a little bit brighter. And then you're going to click the triangle above the right end of the slider, and it's actually going to reveal some more options. So the radius we're going to put at 0.9, the detail to 25, and the masking value to 61. So now that you've adjusted those radius, detail, and masking settings, you can go ahead and bring the sharpening slider back down to 70 because you kind of fine-tuned those details. Once you've edited one of your images, you can synchronize all of the settings for that one image to all the other ones. So to do that, you're going to click on the little film strip menu, and we're going to choose select all. So that selects all these images. And then you're going to click and hold the film strip menu again and choose sync settings. And then that's going to bring up this dialog box, which you can just click OK. And then it synchronizes all three of those images with the same settings that you've already done. So now all that's left is to save them. So you can save them as new files up here, or you can open them and save them, open them as smart objects in Photoshop. So if we want to just export directly from here, again, make sure all of them are selected, and then you're going to click the little download button. And you can give them different names here, or you can make them the same name as they were, which is document name. And then we're going to choose JPEG as our file extension. And the level of JPEG we want is a high, 8 to 9. And then for the color space, we want this sRGB setting. And keep going down. For image sizing, let's say we wanted to save these for the web. You can actually have this save, resize the images for you too. So what we're going to do is we're going to resize the long side to be 800 pixels and 72 pixels per inch. So what that's going to do is it's going to save those for web or screen viewing only. That's not something you would want to print. Okay, and then you're going to click save, and it's going to go ahead and do its thing. And then we're also going to show you how to open it in Photoshop. So you're going to click on Mission 1, CRW. You're going to click on this drop down menu next to Open, and you're going to choose Open as Object. So that's going to create as a smart object. And we're not going to really do anything to edit this, but at this point then you would want to save it as a PSD for further editing. Let's say you wanted to layer it or create like some kind of cool theme, like advertisement or magazine cover or whatever. So you'd save that here as a PSD. Okay, so after you're done with those, we're going to open the image of the bride that they gave us. So you can go back to the Lesson 12 folder, and we're going to start with this 12B NEF file. And an NEF file is the Nikon version of a RAW file. So this is also a RAW file. It's going to open in Camera Raw and has all these same like editing options. Okay, so for this one we're going to choose Adobe Portrait. And then we're going to select the white balance tool, which is under color now. And when you select the eyedropper, we're going to click on a white area of her dress to remove the greenish color cast. And then you're going to click on the Edit Auto option, which is going to do some auto enhancing to this image. You guys probably saw it brighten up a little bit. You saw like some more contrast in it. So if you click the auto option and then you go into specific panels, you can adjust anything that you don't like. So like for example, I think the exposure is too high, so we're going to take that back down to 0. The contrast is too high, so we're going to put that down to -20, which is going to soften the image. And then down under Effects, we're going to boost the clarity up to 8. So that just kind of softens this photo and brings the color where it needs to be. The next thing we'll be doing is taking some of the blemishes off the face, which I had to come back and re-record this video, so it looks like mine's already been done, but don't worry, that's what the next part's for. Okay, so we're going to be using the healing brush tool here, now that we made those corrections. And so you're going to go to the editing tools in Camera Raw, which is the Band-Aid, and then you're going to select the first tool. And if it gets stuck on your mouse, you can like switch to another tool and then switch back, and you should be able to see like the target here. So we're going to zoom into about 100%. And then you're going to work on some of the blemishes along her face. Not that you would always want to do that, but in this case I'm going to show you how. Anyways, so you're going to set the size to 15 and the opacity to 100. And then you're going to just click on some of those blemishes around her face, and the content aware fill is going to look at what's around it and kind of fill based on that. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom back in here. Okay, so I'm gonna just keep clicking on some of these blemishes, and you'll see them disappear straight away. Ooh, that one did not work, so sometimes you gotta go back, make your brush a little smaller, because it actually took into account her mascara and her eyelashes, so it turned black. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and remove all of them. Again, it's up to your editing preference and how natural you want somebody to look. So it actually did pretty good on the one on her neck. In the book, they suggest that you do like a downward drag to make it a little bit bigger. So you can kind of see how you want that. Again, left and right bracket keys are going to make your brush bigger or smaller, so you can adjust that on the fly. You can also show the overlay of where it's coming from if you want to do that. So anyways, you're going to keep going with this. You're going to brush over fine lines around her eyes or wherever. So Control plus is going to have you zoom in, and then the hand tool is accessible to scroll around the image using the space bar. So for shortcuts, you can do it that way. I like to use the space bar for the hand tool. I do that a lot. Let's see, we got some weird eyelashes going there. So you just kind of want to keep it natural looking, but remove any skin changes. And then down here, we're going to go over these fine smile wrinkles. Again, I'm not saying you should do that with everybody. I'm just saying, showing you how. I prefer more natural photo editing, portraying people as they really are, but for the sake of this video, I'll show you this. So fine lines around the eyes and mouth. You can brush away freckles and minor blemishes on her face, neck, arms, and chest. Experiment with simply clicking and using very short strokes and creating longer strokes. Remove distracting lines and blemishes. And then we're going to zoom back out. You can also go down here and choose different percentages of zoom. And this time we're going to brighten her eyes and lips, but we're going to constrain it to a specific area. So that's going to be done using a mask. So it's kind of like, I don't know, we did the freeze and thaw mask. It's kind of like that, but we're going to paint out certain areas and keep certain areas. So we're going to go ahead and go to 100% zoom, and we're going to go to where we can see her eyes. Then we're going to go down to this icon here for masking, just underneath the Band-Aid tool. So we can mask a subject, we can mask the sky, we can mask the background. There's a lot of different options in this one. So we're going to we can also look at the brush settings. So we're going to click on the brush options here. And when you click on the title, it opens it up. The size is going to be 2, very small. Feather 100, flow 50, density 100, and auto mask is not checked. Okay, you're also going to see this other dialog box that is going to show you all of your masks, and you want to go in the brush settings until you get to the color panel. So keep going down. Here it is. When you get to color, you're going to boost your saturation up to 70%. And then you're going to drag the brush tool over the irises in her eye to just make them a bit more blue. So you're boosting the saturation in this area that you're painting right now with the brush tool. Okay, and she already has lovely eyes, so you can just saturate them a little bit, and that looks good. So this is going to be automatically called mask 1, and if you hover over it, it goes red. That doesn't mean her eyes are red, that's just showing you where the mask is. So you're going to double click mask 1, and you're going to call it irises, and click OK. And then in the mask panel, go ahead and check this show overlay box. And that's where you see that red overlay. So now you're seeing like where that mask is. You can go ahead and uncheck that. Then you're going to go up here to the Create New Mask button. And we're going to choose Brush again. Photoshop can do automatic masks, like for people and stuff. On this one, we are going to desaturate certain areas. So we're going to put our saturation down to -50. And we're going to brush the red corners of her eyes with this one. So it takes the color out in those areas. At least the red color. Okay, so that mask, we're going to double click on it and rename it Eye Corners. And so we have two masks going here, and they do different things. Now we are going to create another one called Brush Settings. And this one, we're going to go down to the light panel, and we're going to bump up the exposure to 0.50. And this is going to boost the exposure on whatever we're painting. So we're going to paint the white areas of her eyes, the irises, and the shadows above the eye. So we boosted the saturation in her irises. Now we're going to boost the exposure just slightly. And not in a way that looks fake, but just a way that looks a little bit more defined. Makes her eyes pop. So you're gonna just brush over those areas, give her some highlights in her, above her eyes. And we're gonna call that mask Eye Brighten. Okay, now in this mask panel, you can turn on and off those masks so you can see before and after. You can also change how the mask interacts. And if you don't like how bright her eyes are, if you think that's too high, you can bring this exposure down a little and it'll darken them up. or you could even make it brighter, which is creepy. Okay. The next thing we will be doing is skin texture. So you're going to use a masked view here, and all of these masks that we have now are going to stay where they are. We're going to click fit down here so that we can see the whole image. Then we're going to create a new mask, and on this one we're going to go to select people. I don't actually know why that's grayed out on mine. Hold on.